That's the other thing. This microphone stand, I saw a class, and it's not just me. Everyone is like adjusting it constantly throughout the class. You know, it's really, eventually, it's a little loud.
Would you like me to look at it?
Hare Krishna. Could you turn it down, the sound? Isn't it too loud? But it needs to be tightened or so it's fixed or something. We can do a clip on. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Sudanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Sudanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Go Premananda!
Hari-Hari-Bol.
So the one thing is, so those lights right there, are they required for seeing his?
Yes.
Okay, but are they required, like after you see that, can they be like, not in my eyes?
You could turn.
And then would that affect your...
It will affect the video quality.
Oh, okay. Alright, these are the things I have to do.
I thought that we got to let him sit up there one time, just to pay penance.
Anyway, whatever.
We have to let him sit in the hot seat one time.
It's like, when you're on stage, you have to put up with that's what, it blocks out the view of the public, so.
They made some kind of lights now that do it without being so hot, I think. It's one of the
Some of
hazards
these car lights now, I don't want to get off on that. Some of these car lights now, they seem like they're high beams on, that they're ridiculous. Right. And then just the low beams. Anyway. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya.
Narayanam Namaskritya.
Narang Chaiva Narottamam.
Narang Chaiva Narottamam.
Deving Saraswati Vyasam.
Devim Saraswati Vyasam.
Tam Jayam Mudiriye.
Tato Jaya Mudiraye.
Before reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should first offer our respectful obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Narayan, to Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and to Srila Prabhupada, who translated the Bhagavatam and brought the Bhagavatam to the West, and is our spiritual master, the founder Acharya. So the verse is verse 16 in Canto 1 and chapter 15, and it's called The Pandavas Retired. Yeah, Pandavas Retired finally, and it's the continuing effort on Arjuna's part to deal with his feeling of separation from Krishna, knowing that Krishna is now left. So he's thinking about all of his pastimes with the Lord, and this is actually showing us how you be Krishna conscious, how you surrender to Krishna. Actually, when Mahalakshmi was doing the kirtan and she started singing Jai Satchinandana and what was the other one? I remember, this is a common thing now, but I remember the first time I heard that mantra, it came from Vishnu John. He had just come back from India, and it was either 73 or 74. We picked him up at the Atlanta airport. He used to leave Radha Damodar at the Atlanta temple a lot, and this was after the roadshow had split apart. And he came back with an ektar, and that one-string instrument, the first time we'd ever seen one. And he started saying things like Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. To my memory, that was the beginning. Jai Satchinandana, Jai Satchinandana. He was doing all these other things, and he would say Shri Advaita, Hari Bol, things like that. So it was really. That was my memory when she started. I remembered this day specifically, seeing him coming back from India, walking down the airport. Then we went back to this one house that the devotees had, and we just sat there for hours, and he was introducing all these new melodies and mantra and this new instrument, and he was always a festival. Vishnu John Swami. There was always a festival when Vishnu John was there. So, very fortunate to have had this association. So, this is the Sanskrit. I'll do it word for word to the best I can. Okay, so Yad Doshu Ma Pranihitam Guru Bhishma Natri
Natri
Trigarta
Trigarta
Salya
Salya
Saindava
Saindava
Valikajai
Valikajai
Natri Trigarta Salya Saindava Valikadai
Natri Trigarta Sandava Valikajai
Astrani
Astrani
Amogha
Amogha
Mahimani
Mahimani
Nirupitani
Nirupitani
Astrani Amogha Mahimani Nirupitani
Astrani Amogha Mahimani Nirupitani
No paspisi No I didn't really read the verse, the Sanskrit thing. No pasrisur, no pasrisur,
No Pasrishur
Nrihari,
Nirhari
Dasam,
Dasam
Nivasurani,
Ivasurani
no pasrisur, Nirhari Dasam, Ivasurani,
No Pasrishur Nirhari Dasam Ivasurani
Okay, so Yadoshu ma pranihitam guru bhishma karna
Yadoshama Panihitam Guru Vishmakarna
na tri karta salya saindava bahila balikajai. Can we do that again? Na tri karta salya saindava balikajai.
Napti Trigarta Salya Sandeva Balikajai.
I'm thinking that the breakdown of the syllables is the BAH, then LIK. No, this is the way I'm doing it. BAH, then LI, then KAD, and then the YKIH. So I'll do it again. Natri Garta Salya Saindava Balikajai.
Napti Trigarta Salya Sandava Balikajai.
Astrani
Astrani
Amogha
Amogha
Mahimani
Mahimani
Nirupitani.
Nirupitani
Astrani Amogha Mahimani Nirupitani.
Astrani Amogha Mahimani Nirupitani
No pasprur Nirharidasam Ivasurani.
No Pasrishur Nirhari Dasam Ivasurani
Yatoshuma Pranihitam Guru Bhishma Karna
Yadoshama Panihitam Guru Vishmakarna
Natri Trigarta Salya Saindava Balikajai.
Natri Trigarta Salya Sandava Balikajai
Astrani Amogha Mahimani Nirupitani.
Ashrani Amogha Mahimani Nirupitani
No pasprit sur Nrihari Tasam Ivasurani.
No Pasrishur Nirhari Dasam Ivasurani
Well, I've done my best to butcher it, so now you can put your turn to do it.
Yadoshuma Pranihitam Guru Bhishmakarna
Yadoshama Panihitam Guru Vishmakarna
Natri Trigarta Salya Sandava Balikajam
Natri Vikarta Salya Saindava Balikajai.
Ashrani Amogha Mahimani Nirupitani
Astrani Amogha Mahimani Nirupitani
No Pasrishur Nirhari Dasam Ivasurani
No pasrisur Nirhari Dasam Ivasurani.
Yaddosau ma panihitam Guru Bhishma Karna
Yadosuma panitam Guru Bhishma Karna
Naptir Trigartha Salya Sandhava Bali Kadai
Natri Trigarthaya Sandhava Balikadai
Astrani Amoga Mahimani Nirupitani
Astrani Amoga Mahimani Nirupitani
Nopastru Nirharidasam Ivasurani
Nopasisur Nirharidasam Ivasurani.
You're the last hope for women.
Yadosau Panihitam Guru Bhishma Karna Natri Trigartha Salya Sandhava Bali Kadai Astani Amoga Mahimani Nirupitani
You know, the one thing that I always take shelter of, and after all these years, I'm still I'm weak on Sanskrit, is that there's a verse, I think it's in the first canto or the second canto, it says, even though it's not properly tended, it's still a potency. And I don't think at the time of death there's a grammatical test of your. The Prabhupada said even in this age you don't qualify Brahmins because none of them can actually chant the mantras properly. So I kind of take shelter of that. I have my lack of. So anyway, word for word, yat, under whose, doshu, protection of arms, ma pranihitam, myself being situated, guru, dronacharya, bhishma, karna, natri, burishrava, trigata, king susarma, salya, sandaiva, king jayadatta, balika, brother of Maharaj Santanu, Bhishma's father. Yeah, Maharaj Santanu is Bhishma's father. So Ajay, etc. Astrani, weapons. Amogha, invincible. Mahimani, very powerful. Nirupitani, applied. Na. Upasprisu, touched. Nriharidasam, servitor of Nishingate, Eva, like. Asurani, weapons employed by the demons. So I'll say, then you repeat. Great generals like Bhishma. Drona, Kara, Burishrava. Susarma, Salya, Jayadrata. And Balika. All directed their invincible weapons against me. But by his Lord Krishna's grace, they could not even touch a hair on my head. Similarly,
Similarly,
Prahlad Maharaj,
Prahlad Maharaj,
the supreme devotee of Lord Nrsimhadev,
the supreme devotee of Lord Nrsimhadev,
was unaffected
by
by the weapons of the demons
the weapons of demons
used against him.
used against him.
So the verses, great generals like Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Burishrava, Susarma, Salya, Jayadratha, and Balika all directed their invincible weapons against me. But by his, Lord Krishna's, grace, they could not even touch a hair on my head. Similarly, Prahlad Maharaj, the supreme devotee of Lord Nrsimhadev, was unaffected by the weapons the demons used against him. So the purport by Srila Prabhupada is quite long. It's almost like an encyclopedia, the different personalities that are mentioned here. So,
If you want to break it in half.
yeah, I'll see how it goes. But I was thinking about, I read it, and I was thinking about something. But anyway, we'll see. You can turn the fan off. Yeah. It's hard to so maybe she just turned it off.
You want to turn it off?
Yeah. I appreciate the effort. Purport. The history of Prahlad Maharaj, the great devotee of Nrsimhadev, is narrated in the... Oh, wow. The history of Prahlad Maharaj, the great devotee of Nrsimhadev, is narrated in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Prahlad Maharaj, a small child of only 5 years, became the object of envy for his great father, Hiranyakasipu, only because of his becoming a pure devotee of the Lord. His father is envious of him. So the demon father employed all his weapons to kill the devotee son, Prahlad. But by the grace of the Lord, he was saved from all sorts of dangerous actions from his father. He was thrown in a fire, in boiling oil, from the top of a hill, underneath the legs of an elephant, and he was administered poison. At last the father himself took up a chopper to kill his son. See, now I've never heard that one before. It's been a sword, his fist, and now there's a chopper. So, it's many varieties. At last the father himself took up a chopper to kill his son. And thus Nrsimhadev appeared and killed the heinous father in the presence of the son. Thus no one can kill the devotee of the Lord. Similarly, Arjuna was also saved by the Lord, although all dangerous weapons were employed by his great opponents, like Bhishma. So now this next section is titled Karna. Born of Kunti by the sun god prior to her marriage with Maharaj Pandu, Karna took his birth with bangles and earrings. Extraordinary signs for an undaunted hero. An undaunted, that's a very, this was written in the 50s. Srila Prabhupada, obviously had a command of the English language. Most people would just say a fearless or, but undaunted showed that he had he was educated in the English language. Say undaunted. Spirit. That's nothing will stop him. It's a really strong way of stating that he's fearless. He's not. His determination is strong. In the beginning, his name was Vasusena, but when he grew up, he presented his natural bangles and earrings to Indradev, who was Arjuna's father. And thenceforward, he became known as Vaikartana. After his birth from the maiden Kunti, he was thrown in the Ganges. Later, he was picked up by Adhirata, and he and his wife Radha brought him up as their own offspring. Karna was very charitable, especially toward the Brahmanas. There was nothing he could not spare for a Brahmana. In the same charitable spirit, he gave in charity his natural bangles and earrings to Indradev, who, being very much satisfied with him, gave him in return a great weapon named Shakti. He was admitted as one of the students of Dronacharya, even though he was coming from, servants or Sudra's family, apparently. He was admitted to be trained with the other Kshatriyas. And from the very beginning, there was some rivalry between him and Arjuna. Seeing his constant rivalry with Arjuna, Duryodhana picked up as his companion. And this gradually grew into greater intimacy. He was also present in the great assembly of Draupadi's Swayamvar function, and when he attempted to exhibit his talent in that meeting, he went, and when he attempted to exhibit his talent in that meeting, Draupadi's brother, who is just Junior, declared that Karna could not take part in the competition because of his being the son of a Sudra carpenter. Although he was refused in the competition, still, when Arjuna was successful in piercing the fish target on the ceiling, and Draupadi bestowed her garland upon Arjuna, Karna and the other disappointed princes offered an unusual stumbling block to Arjuna while he was leaving with Draupadi. Specifically, Karna fought with him very valiantly, but all of them were defeated by Arjuna. Duryodhana was very much pleased with Karna because of his contested rivalry with Arjuna. Constant rivalry with Arjuna. And when he was in power, he enthroned Karna in the state of Anga. Being baffled in his attempts to win Draupadi, Karna advised Duryodhana to attack King Drupada, for after defeating him, both Arjuna and Draupadi could be arrested. But Dronacharya rebuked them for this conspiracy. He was their guru, the Kshatriya guru. He taught them how to use their weapons. He taught them different strategies, military strategies. And they refrained from the action because of Dronacharya's saying, no, this is not correct. Karna was defeated many times, not only by Arjuna, but also by Bhimasena. He was the king of the kingdom of Bengal, Orissa, and Madras combined. Later on, he took on an active part in the Rajasuya sacrifice of Maharaj Yudhisthira. And when there was gambling between the rival brothers, designed by Sakuni, Karna took part in the game, and he was very pleased when Draupadi was offered as a bet in the gambling. This fed his old grudge. When Draupadi was in the game, he was very enthusiastic to declare the news. And it was he who ordered Dushasana to take away the garments of both the Pandavas and Draupadi. I don't remember hearing that before, that the Pandavas were also.
But they were actually also this robe of their kingly robes of very simple cloth.
He asked Draupadi to select another husband because, being lost by the Pandavas, she was rendered a slave of the Kurus. He was always an enemy of the Pandavas, and whenever there was an opportunity, he tried to curb them by all means. During the Battle of Kurukshetra, he foresaw the conclusive result, and he expressed his opinion that due to Lord Krishna's being the chariot driver of Arjuna, the battle should be won by Arjuna. So he knew they were fighting a losing battle. Yet they still maintained that enmity towards him.
He had a conversation with Krishna too.
Yeah.
Krishna tried to talk him out of it. And
Really?
And he admitted that, like, I know who you are. I know you're going to win, but I got to do it anyway.
Well, that was his part of the play. Yeah, so he always differed with Bhishma, and sometimes he was proud enough to say that within 5 days he could finish up the Pandavas if Bhishma would not interfere with his plans of action. But he was much mortified when Bhishma died. So while living, he had issues with Bhishma. But when he saw Bhishma leaving this mortal world, he was upset. He lamented. What?
He was already dead when Bhishma died.
Well, it says here that when Bhishma, it says, but he was mortified when Bhishma died.
I guess when he knew Bhishma was going to die.
When he meant that he was laying on the bed of arrows,
Yeah.
as good as dead. He was choosing his time to leave, but he was already as good as dead at that time.
Yeah.
He killed Gatotkacha with the Shakti weapon obtained from Indradev. His son, Vrishasena, was killed by Arjuna. He killed the largest number of Pandava soldiers. At last there was a severe fight with Arjuna, and it was he only who was able to knock off the helmet of Arjuna. But it so happened that the wheel of his chariot stuck in the battlefield mud. And when he got down to set the wheel right, Arjuna took the opportunity and killed him. Although he requested Arjuna not to do so. Please.
Fight fair, we didn't fight fair,
There's a lot of unfairness.
But you're not supposed to shoot your opponent when he's doing that.
Well, you're not supposed to cheat gambling either, you know. See, there's a lot of things that should have been done. But this was all part of a greater, drama or instruction for us, a life's instruction for us now, and to bring about, the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, to set them in the proper, like a very valuable jewel, and it has to be set in the right, like a ring. When a woman gets an engagement ring, the setting is as important as the stone itself. So the setting all around it is just as important, all these intricacies, so that you can understand. But I took away from this reading this quickly this morning, and I was just going to open it up, but I started to open up to discussion. But there's so many varying translations of the Mahabharata that I just find, sometimes they contradict even what Srila Prabhupada said. Like in one Mahabharata, it says that Madhvi borrowed Kunti's mantra, and Yashvini Kumar's impregnated her with Sahadev and Gokula. But Prabhupada says in a purport in the 13th chapter of this Bhagavatam that that's not what happened. That actually Pandu had relations with her, and she was impregnated, and that's when he died. So, it gets too... But there's another issue, there's another very important lesson here that I think that is relevant, and it's a good preaching point. So I'd like to just read it through and then make a small point and then open it up for discussion, if you don't mind. Nakta, or Bhurishrava. Bhurishrava was the son of Somadatta, a member of the Kuru family. His other brother was Salya. Both the brothers and the father attended the Swayamvara ceremony of Draupadi. All of them appreciated the wonderful strength of Arjuna due to his being the devotee friend of the Lord. And thus, Bhurishrava advised the sons of Dhritarashtra not to pick any quarrel or fight with them. All of them also attended the Rajasuya Yajna of Maharaj Yudhisthira. He possessed one Akshauhini regiment of army, cavalry, elephants, and chariots, and all of these were employed in the battle of Kurukshetra on behalf of Duryodhana's party. He was counted by Bhima as one of the Yuttapatis. In the battle of Kurukshetra, he was especially engaged in a fight with Satyaki, and he killed 10 sons of Satyaki. Later on, Arjuna cut off his hands, and he was ultimately killed by Satyaki. After his death, he emerged into the existence of Vishvadeva. Vasudeva. So some of these people they didn't get Sayuja like the form of the Lord Liberation. They merge into the body of Krishna, merge into the effulgence of Krishna. There's one painting I just saw. I was looking at some bhajan that someone is singing, and there's one of the bhajans, and they have different paintings done by the various ISKCON artists, and it's where Sister Paul is being beheaded by Krishna at the Rajasuya sacrifice, was it?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and you see the disc coming for his head, like that. You see the light, but then you also see from here you see another light going into the feet of Krishna. So he merged into the body. Now, Sister Paul is one of the Jaya Vijayas, So that's where he ended up, the lotus feet of the Lord. Where was I?
Emerged into the body.
Body of the Lord, yeah. Oh, yeah. So now we have Trigarta or Susarma, son of Maharaj Vridha Kshetra. He was the king of Trigarta Desha, and he was also present in the Swayamvara ceremony of Draupadi. He was one of the allies of Duryodhana, and he advised Duryodhana to attack the Matsya Desha, Darbhanga, during the time of the cow stealing in Virata Nagara. He was able to arrest Maharaj Virata, but later Maharaj Virata was released by Bhima. In the battle of Kurukshetra, he also fought very valiantly, but at the end he was killed by Arjuna. Jayadratha, this is the next one, Jayadratha, another son of Maharaj Vridha Kshetra. He was the king of Sindhu Desha, modern Sindh, Pakistan. So his wife's name was Dushala. He was also present at the Swayamvara ceremony of Draupadi, and he desired very strongly to have her hand. She must have been, she is obviously a very attractive woman. Everybody wanted her. They were mad for her.
They were falling over.
They were ready to kill, steal, whatever. I want that woman. He desired very strongly to have her hand, but he failed in the competition. But since then, he always sought the opportunity to get in touch with Draupadi. When he was going to marry in the Salya Desha, on the way to Kamyavana, he happened to see Draupadi again and was too much attracted to her. He's on his way to get married. Can you imagine? I've seen pictures like that where the wife, they're walking, and then she sees the husband or the groom going like this, checking out another woman while they're walking out. Sometimes, as a man, you just can't help the eyes take you somewhere where you don't want to go. You can't help it. Anyway, that's of course if you're not a devotee. So when he went to marry, the Pandavas and Draupadi were then in exile after losing their empire in gambling, and Jayadratha thought it wise to send news to Draupadi in an illicit manner through Koti Shasha, one of his associates. It was common for there was polygamy. They had more than one wife, and they may have concubines, mistresses, but another man's wife? No. And not just another man, but the 5 Pandavas. That's called adultery. And that's what I want to talk about here. Because to me, all of this is the 10 Commandments. They're breaking the 10 Commandments. All of it. That's all the basics here. It's a very good preaching point. Jayadratha thought it wise to send news to Draupadi in an illicit manner through Koti Shasha, one of the associates. Draupadi at once refused vehemently the proposal of Jayadratha. But being so much attracted by the beauty of Draupadi, he tried again and again. Every time he was refused by Draupadi. I mean, this is a stalker. And you get a what do you call it? One of those serve him a warrant. What is it? No, you can't go. A restraining order, right? He's a stalker. I mean, Kali was telling me about this one guy that just constantly, even after we were now married, he was still, and this woman helped him get through med school, and he was still, now he's a doctor. I'm a doctor now. And that woman got you through med school. You know, it was just, he was crazy, obsessed with my beautiful wife. So every time he was refused by Draupadi, he tried to take her away forcibly on his chariot. And at first Draupadi gave him a good dashing. And Draupadi gave him a good dashing. And he fell like a cut root tree. But he was not discouraged. And he was able to force Draupadi to sit on the chariot. This incident was seen by Damya Muni, and he strongly protested the action of Jayadratha. He also followed the chariot, and through Datrayika, the matter was brought to the notice of Maharaj Yudhisthira. The Pandavas then attacked the soldiers of Jayadratha and killed them all. And at last, Bhima caught hold of Jayadratha, beat him very severely, almost dead. And still, he thinks there's a chance. So lust never.
Now will you marry me?
Look at me. Look at me. That's really did to me. I'll do anything for you. I'll even die for you. Then all but 5 hairs. This is the kicker, because I know this whole thing with Kshatriyas and their hair. You know, Rukma. You know, Rukmini pleaded with Krishna not to kill her brother, so he cuts his hair. Ashwatthama, instead of killing him, they cut off that blue jewel that had all his mystic power, and they cut his hair. And here, they cut off all of his hair but 5 hairs. And this is very insulting. So, and so then he was forced. And then Maharaj, he was forced to admit himself to be the slave of Maharaj Yudhisthira before all the princely order. And in the same condition, he was brought before Maharaj Yudhisthira. Maharaj Yudhisthira was kind enough to order him released, and when he admitted to being a tributary prince under Maharaj Yudhisthira, Queen Draupadi also desired his release. After this incident, he was allowed to return to his country. Being so insulted, he went to Gangotri in the Himalayas and undertook a severe type of penance to please Lord Shiva. He asked his benediction to defeat all the not to get forgiven, but still he's thinking of some way. Now I have to get him. Pandavas, at least one at a time. Then the battle of Kurukshetra began, and he took sides with Duryodhana. In the first day's fight, he was engaged with Maharaj Drupada, then with Virata, and then with Abhimanyu. When Abhimanyu was being killed mercilessly, surrounded by 7 great generals, the Pandavas came to his help. But Jayadratha, by the mercy of Lord Shiva, repulsed him with great ability. Lord Shiva, wouldn't fulfill his desires to kill the Pandavas because they're protected by Krishna, and he wouldn't do that, as far as my understanding. But so then he asked, well, I want the boon that at least for one day I can block their actions. And I think he was given the boon that at least 4 of them, for one day, he can stop them from doing what they desire to do. Something to that effect. So, and that's how Abhimanyu was slaughtered. But he was not allowed to do so. On the contrary, he was obliged to fight with Arjuna, and while the fight was going on, Lord Krishna reminded Arjuna the benediction of Shiva upon Jayadratha was that whoever would cause his head to fall on the ground would die at once. He therefore advised, it's like one of these mad bomber, serial killer bombers. And then, he knows he's going to get caught. So then he booby traps his house. So that anybody goes into his house, they're going to blow up, So you have to go through this. He's thinking of all angles. He therefore advised Arjuna to throw the head of Jayadratha directly onto the lap of his father, who was engaged in penances at the Samanta Panchaka pilgrimage. This was actually done by Arjuna. Jayadatta's father was surprised to see a severed head on his lap. He was sitting there in meditation. And he at once threw it to the ground. The father immediately died, his forehead being cracked in 7 pieces. Great generals like Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Bhurishra, Susarma, Salya, Jayadratha, and Balika all directed their invincible weapons against me, but by his, Lord Krishna's grace, they could not even touch a hair on his head. Similarly, Prahlad Maharaj, the supreme devotee of Lord Srimad, was unaffected by the weapons of the demons used against him. So it's already 8. Is that, what does it say? 8:25?
Yeah, 8:25.
Anyway, I was just going to make this one point. We're not continuing the discussion, but I was reminded of, I was listening to class the other day, and I don't remember the whole story, but in the 7th canto, there's the story where Mayadanava gives the Asuras these cities in the air, and they're causing havoc. So then the demigods, aided by Lord Shiva, start to destroy them. That's why our name for Lord Shiva is Tripurari, destroyed the 3 cities. But then Mayadanava helps them again, and he makes the 3 cities invisible. And still the demigods are succeeding, but then he creates like a lake or a reservoir of, I don't know if it's somaras, but if you drink this liquid, you are immediately revived from injuries or even death. It's like an elixir. And so anytime they get injured or possibly even killed, they drink, someone brings them this liquid, then they're revived and they can continue fighting. So what happens then is, as far as my memory is that Lord Vishnu and Lord Brahma come in the form of a calf and a cow. And Brahma, I believe, is the calf and Vishnu is the cow. And so they have respect for the cow. They're not ordinary like Kali Yuga type demons. And so they see this cow and calf walk in, and they start drinking from this reservoir of elixir. And they keep drinking, and they keep drinking. And it's finally, they drank the whole thing. and they're just like, and Mayadanava says, the sum and substances is that you have to accept your destiny. You have a destined amount of success and happiness in this life, and you have a destined amount of failure and pain and sorrow in your life. So some things are irreversible. So what you see here in this great saga leading up to the Battle of Kurukshetra is there are certain individuals who cannot accept their destiny. They have to change their destiny. Duryodhana is, even Yudhisthira is willing to share with him. He won't, no, I want it all. He has all the opportunity, to have half of it, and he wouldn't take it. And even if he, did just, surrender to Yudhisthira, the empire, Yudhisthira would have treated him, he would have had a great life. But no, he has to have it. Then this Jayadratha fellow, he's a great soul, sure, but he was obsessed with Draupadi, and he was so obsessed he just couldn't see what a fool he was making of himself. Just trying to force his desires on providence, and providence is Krishna. So the point of the whole Bhagavad Gita is, Arjuna basically in the first chapter, he's looking at the armies and he's thinking, even after everything Duryodhana and these other fellows have done to them, everything they've been through, and I don't have to elucidate it all here, he's thinking, I can't do this. I can't do it. And it's basically what he's saying is, he's the perfect Christian. He's saying, what profits the man who gains the whole world, but at the expense of sin, of causing so much pain and suffering? So I get an earthly kingdom like that, and almost like a heavenly kingdom, but it's temporary. And by so doing, I will create generations and generations of more suffering and sin, just for my satisfaction. I don't want to do it. I won't do it. These fellows, they'll do anything to force their desires on everyone else. The difference here is that in the end, the teachings of Krishna is that we do what pleases Krishna. Now, how do we know what pleases Krishna? Well, basically we know by our guru, by our external guru. If he's not present, by the instructions and by cooperating with others. And sometimes you have to use your own good intelligence. You don't try to force your desires upon this movement, Lord Chaitanya's movement. But I want to get into that a little bit. But first of all, I just want to make the point that if we here's Arjuna doesn't see Krishna as God, even though he sees the universal form. People who worship in awe and reverence, they're worshiping in awe and reverence because they know Vishnu is God. So there's a tinge of fear also. There's love, respect, but it's awe and reverence. But the cowardness, the parental relationship, the gopis, they don't know, they don't care that Krishna's God. They just really love him. They just really want to be with him. They want to be his friend. They want to be his lover. They want to take care of him like a baby, their son. They're not in awe of him. They just want to be his friend. And so whatever pleases Krishna, that's what they do. And that is the instruction of the Bhagavad Gita. And that is the purpose of life. Now, someone may ask, well, how do you know that I may have a spiritual desire to serve Srila Prabhupada's movement? And I think this is a really good idea, and I think everyone should get behind it. Now, how do you know if it's a good idea or not? Well, ultimately, there'll be warning signs, I'm sure, along the way. But as long as it's in line with what... You have to surrender and work with other people. We have to, because our constitutional position is that we are cooperative, subordinate servants. That's what it says in the 13th chapter of the Bhagavatam. And it also, my wife has been studying the Bhagavad Gita very intensely, she's underlining everything. She's reading the introduction again. And there's a whole paragraph where Prabhupada just talks about cooperation. That is our duty. That is our dharma. That's who we are. We're cooperators with the will of the Lord. We cooperate with God. We cooperate with Krishna. We cooperate with other Krishna's servants. That's who we are. And that is the whole message of this Mahabharata and so on. I know there was something else I wanted to say, but I can't remember, so I think Krishna is trying to tell me that let other people speak. Does anyone have anything to say? Yes?
I have a specific, but I can't remember the details, unfortunately, and I don't know if I can find it again, but somebody posted on Facebook about a defense of Arjuna that actually he wasn't cheating, it was actually rightly done. There's certain things that Karna did that allowed it or required it. It was a really good defense. I wish I could remember, but just the fact that no, Arjuna wasn't cheating.
But I also find Karna to be sort of an enigma because, the way the whole thing, Kunti, I don't want to cast aspersions against Kunti, but, my heart goes out to him.
Yeah.
He's a very interesting personality. And when Yudhisthira finally does find out who he is, he curses not only his mother, but all women. That a woman can never keep a secret. Because his mother kept that secret from him. That he fought against his older brother, who should have been the emperor. But this is also, again, this is what Krishna wanted. So we want to do what Krishna or Prabhu wanted. I know, actually, I didn't, I saw your hand. I didn't see, but I went like that. So anyway, yeah. Are you finished?
I guess, yeah. I think that point was made in this argument that Karna actually was unqualified in many ways. So he didn't have the character that he used to have.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but anyways, I don't remember the details, so I can't say more.
Okay. I didn't mean to cut you off. I
right.
thought you were finished. I'm sorry.
We're supposed to.
But I was looking this way,
Yeah.
and you don't see who's behind you.
I knew I was taking a chance at, but as I started to speak, it seemed to be okay, so I wasn't sure if it was me or not.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. So anyway, you have this. So Arjuna.
I'm sorry.
I heard Chaitanya Charan discuss the character of Karna and how conflicted he is. And one of the things I remember him saying is that, it's really prevalent in India that people sympathize with Karna and they'll fault find with the Pandavas. But he grew up in that culture, and he's from Pune in Maharashtra. And he said that he understands that perspective, but that actually when you examine the life of Karna, and you think that he got a raw deal, well, so did the Pandavas.
No question.
And how did the two react? How did they respond to their raw deal? Karna responded by like all the nefarious things that he did, and the Pandavas responded by being always dharmic and turning to the Lord. And so and he actually wrote a really nice article that was in the BTG a couple of years ago. So that was just one thing. And then another thing I was going to say about Jayadratha is they probably mentioned his wife's name was Dushala, and she was actually the one daughter of Dhritarashtra. And so there was that connection. So in some of the versions of Mahabharata you read, Draupadi actually intercedes for him and asks them to Bhima to spare his life on that as well, because Dushala is their cousin, his cousin, and she's identifying and empathizing with how
not only was she physically beautiful, but she was a beautiful soul and person. She didn't want Ashwatthama to be executed because she didn't want his mother to feel the way she felt. And so, did I cut you off? I'm sorry. Did you have another thing?
Well, there is just one thing more that I would try to say real quickly about Burashrava. I read the purport ahead and I went back and read about him, and he is a whole history of enmity between his father and the grandfather of Satyaki, because at the Swayamvara of Devaki, the mother of Krishna, the brother of, this gets so but the brother of Vasudeva went to Devaki's Swayamvara on his behalf, and he took Devaki. But Somadatta, the father of Burashrava, he was also there to win her hand, and so he fought with that brother. His name was Simi, the brother of Vasudeva, and Simi bested him and dragged him by the hair and kicked him. And so, for a Kshatriya, that's the worst. So he could fight.
Worse than hair?
Worse than hair? I don't know. Maybe not worse than shaving their hair. But so this Samadatta, he went and, probably always performed their austerities to get a boon. So he got the boon that in some successive generation that one of his descendants would do the same thing, drag and kick a descendant of Sini. So Satyaki is the grandson of Sini, and Vurushrava was the son of Samadatta. So Vurushrava got the benediction that his father had asked for. So he was able to, even though he wasn't as capable a warrior as Satyaki, Satyaki was a student of Arjuna in martial arts, and he was practically unparalleled. But because he had this boon, so he was about to, Vurushrava was about to behead Satyaki, and Krishna saw, and so he told Arjuna, heads up, look, Satyaki is about to be killed. So Arjuna, he cut off the arm of Vurushrava, and then Vurushrava starts, they're famous for this, the demons, like, oh, you're not fighting fair, what's the deal? Meanwhile, he was also, Vurushrava was involved in the murder of Abhimanyu. So then Vurushrava took a vow to fast until death. And so I saw a picture, like he's got this stump of an arm, and he made in the text it said bed of arrows, but what he did is, like, the only bed of arrows I know is Bhishma's, but he took the arrows and put the tips outward and made like a mandala and sat down and was going to fast because, like, what's a kshatriya with one arm? It doesn't cover. So Satyaki, meanwhile, he kind of came to, who had been dragged and kicked, and he came, and everybody was actually commending Vurushrava for that, for taking that vow and taking this action. But Satyaki came, and as he was sitting there in meditation, just like whoosh, lopped off his head. And so everybody was, even the Pandava side was a little like, whoa, that's not quite kosher. But as you made the point, like everything was happening according to the plan of the Lord. So like it's just all unfolding.
Yeah. So there's one other that I remember now. When I wanted to just point out that the other commandments that are involved here, there was coveting, thou shalt not covet. Thou shalt not steal, they were stealing the upright. Thou shalt not kill, they were doing that. Thou shalt not commit adultery, Jayadratha was trying to do that. So all of these things, and as you just mentioned also, that Karna gets kind of a ordeal, but we just heard, I think what Prabhu just mentioned, that he had a conversation with Krishna, and he had a chance to work with Krishna and the Pandavas, but he still chose to fight against Krishna. So, and thou shalt, worship the Lord, thy God, and have no other gods in front. And so a lot of them are going off to demigods to get, power, empowerment. So a lot of this is the basic moral teachings from the Bible. It really is, and that, if you think about it, it may seem very foreign to the Christians, but actually, if you study it in a way, we can actually talk to them about how this is showing the results of breaking the Ten Commandments, and how that person that realizes the teachings of Jesus, then the highest teaching, like Jesus said, there's more for you to know, but you're not ready to hear. Arjuna was ready to hear. And those teachings are the teachings of Krishna and the Bhagavad Gita. So this takes it. The Bhagavad Gita starts where Jesus left off. I mean, this is my own personal thought, I don't know if everyone thinks the same way, but I see this is an opening, a way to speak to Christians in such a way that it makes, it relevant, because they're doing all these things. I can't even remember all the Ten Commandments, but I see coveting, I see adultery, I see stealing, I see murder, lying. All these things are going on, but especially coveting. I want what you have. And we all want what Krishna has. It's because it's all Christians. That's our problem. And it's never, whenever you think, I'll be happy when I am a whatever, I have this administrative position, or I have this amount of money. It's always, no, I need just a little more money. No, I didn't expect this administrative position to be such a headache. No, the people aren't. It's not me. I'm a good administrator. I just have bad followers. Whatever. Be careful what you wish for is the point. And like the instruction of Mayadanava to the Asuras in the 7th canto, he says, don't try to mess with destiny. Accept your destiny. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare